Hello! Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm building a trailer. I ordered a trailer kit from Trailer Parts Outlet. Okay, so I'm about ready to pull all the boxes. I have a Milwaukee pack out box there that I've never filled up with anything. Actually, I had some other stuff in it, but then I moved it, so I just have an extra one there. And that's what I'm going to put all the little nuts and bolts in. I've got steel. Went to the yard the other day. So I've got everything I need. And what I'm building a trailer is this right here. So I'll be able to tow that with my little truck or my big truck. Or take that off the trailer and put it in the back. And the plan is eventually this will be able just to sit full of water during the summer months, fire season, when I'm going to build this in such a way where I can put a pump on here, and this can be a fire response situation as well. Right, so I can't just leave that tank in the back of my truck full waiting for a fire to happen all the time, but I can leave that full on its own trailer all the time, and then I can empty it into my other system and then take it, get it filled, and I can just always have water, and I can back up to it, move it, have a pump on there where I can actually pump spray it on a fire, eventually, well, I'm going to build a trailer first. Those are my first two cuts. There's actually 3 cuts there because the first one squared up the end from the mill. It's kind of a pain as my saw doesn't cut through 4-inch angle. It just runs into the thing. So I have to flop it so I'm not getting the perfect cut, but it's definitely within the margin of error. So I'm happy with it. It's just tiny bit, but by the time it's all put together and squared up, it'll be fine. Boy, I'm telling you though, this is a long project because this is kind of crucial to get these cuts all the same, because it's not like I have a bunch more of this. Oh, it's 40 degrees out. Oh, it's so warm. I had to take off my hoodie. So this is 1/4-inch stock here, and my welder is a unique kind of welder, right? So it has the option to go up to 240 volts or the regular 120, right? So where I need to be welding here on the dial, I need to be up in here. So I'm here, I'm gonna right there, right? So my generator will actually do it. It's just got a different plug. So I need to get a conversion plug for this to that. All right, so right now I'm gonna cut that little chunk out of all these so that sits down flush with this. Oh, I tell you, not having a shop makes this so much more work. I gotta put everything away and pull it out, and put it away, and put it out. This morning, I made an entirely separate video about this. This is what I did this morning, is I built this cord so I can weld on 240, Alright, so I got myself a little 1-inch angle in there. That's just gonna completely box that in, and just that is all gonna be tied together in a really strong unit. So, and when you look at these things, they're only supported around the edges, right? So that's all you need is the edges, right? I almost got a custom made axle that would have been the exact right width, which that was going to cost hundreds of dollars more to get a shorter axle. The wind is picking up and messing up my welds. So you can see like is no wind, and then wind, and then wind, and then no wind, and then wind, and then okay, I'm done because of the damn wind. Well, I got my grinding done. I got the welds to fix the crappy welds. And then I got back over here to start where I had been left off when the wind got too blowing. And I'm like, oh, that looks like shit. I must be out of gas. Yep. I've got 2 bottles of gas, but for some reason, they're both empty. I have 2, so I don't ever have to. So if you have 1 and you live where I live and you run out, you're stuck. I mean, it's Saturday. Damn it. And now I'm stuck and I own 2. I don't know when I switched them and never went and replaced it. But yeah, that's what I did. And now I am paying the price. This is my welding outfit. It's not warm right now, so it's awesome to have this. But try welding in the summer. Ooh. All right, so I've been doing a bunch of welding today. I've been doing so much welding. I ran out of welding wire. I have more in my drawer, but it's a process of putting it in there. Super cold day. So I got it, all the other sides done. Not quite done because it still needs to be ground down in places. So that still has to be done, but I wanted to get it flipped over. Had a good day to weld. I was hoping I was going to be able to get all these welds done, but I ran out of wire. So there's 1 weld here that's left, and 1 weld there that's left, and then a half a weld. And then I can start measuring and putting and doing all that and get all that stuff on and literally get that thing on there. Get it on there, and then I'm probably gonna have to call my neighbor to come over and help me flip it back over. I got the wire installed. The snowstorm at that time didn't last long, so I got all these welds on the bottom done. Boy, look, that's not a bad weld, huh? That's pretty good, actually. Pretty good. That's what happens when it doesn't wind, and I've had a little practice now. This is what it's like to weld in the snow. Okay, so I'm not welding in the snow. I'm working in the snow on a welding project. So currently I just got this done. So I basically just got these welds cleaned up as good as they need to be cleaned up because it's the bottom, and that's good enough. So the next step, and I would be doing it now, but I'm not gonna be out here. I was actually just grinding on solar power. You see, there goes my sun. There was my solar power I used all morning. And now, no more solar. So I could start the generator. The next step is actually a bunch of measuring. I've got to get the little parts that go on here and measure everything and put those parts in the axle. That's the next step. So I have to put those parts, and then I have to grind out the mill scale off of where that part goes, and then I can put it on there. And it's just like I just knocked a bunch of rust off here, and I know it's going to be back. And the parts that I have to here, I don't want to get them rusty too. It's just not worth it. You know, I mean, I would already been so close to done right now, if not done, if I wouldn't have ran out of gas. So I will totally kick myself. All right, everything got another dusting of snow. It looks like there's another blast of snow coming, but now we got a blast of sun. And everything's freaking covered in snow. Well, look, it's melting. You can literally just see it melting, right? Oh, the quails are always out here when I'm working. They're kind of curious, I think. Maybe not. It's a pretty big family. They're pretty fat. Look at those clouds roll in. I was gonna do stuff, but I mean, it's only been like, so from there to now. So the snow stopped. I came outside. I started clearing it off with my blower. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to get my propane torch and just blast it. And then get everything on there. And then I'm just like, more is coming. It's coming right now. The quail, they're saying run for your lives. As you'll notice from the audio, the wind is blowing so much that it's definitely not a day to do a weld. I could do tack welds on these. I should do tack welds on these so I don't have to measure or have to do it again. But to get the good weld, I'm definitely not going to be able to do it in this wind, which is a bummer because it's probably going to snow tonight, which means this will all get wet and rusty again, and then before I'm able to get those good final welds on there. All right, let's see if this worked. Yay. No rust and my lines are still there. Perfect. Well, this last phase went pretty well. So we now have contact points for the leaf springs. Pew, 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 pew. Now, this next part, racking my brain how to do this. And what I think I've come up with is I'm going to, this is the toe part. So there's a little piece that goes on there. But how to get the angle perfect? You know, that's the key. So what I'm going to do, and boy, this thing, where is it at? Oh, it's right here. It's kind of annoying the way they built this thing because it's rounded. These are rounded right there. So it doesn't fit on there perfectly. I'm going to have to like grind off the edge that goes in there. So the plan that I'm working on now, because you always have to figure out how you're going to do it first, right? Is I think what I'm going to do is I have to grind all this off, the paint, to weld on this. So I have to do that. And then I have to grind down these top edges. And then just using my bench here, because I mean, I've thought about like, you know, putting something on the side, putting this all down on the ground, putting something on the side, measuring, putting these on here, and then, you know, welding them on and then coming out. But then when I came to the conclusion is it's best just to get them welded into this, and then wherever they may fall on here, it's going to be a lot easier to just make it work back there than trying to just calculate everything just perfectly, right? Because I can get this all put together and welded and this all thing, and that'll all be perfectly in dimensions with these. So it'll be fine. Perfect. Wham. Well, we have a lovely day today. Look at all that sun juice. That means I don't have to run a generator to grind. I could possibly weld on my solar power system, but because I don't have enough panels up, it would just be taxing the battery. Because I don't have enough panels. I have enough equipment. Just this portion right here is where my big array goes. So once that's up, then I'll have enough solar power to weld. But until then, I got to use a generator to weld. So what I did here is, as I pointed out earlier, this curvature in this was not allowing my nice square beams to go in there. So they've been chunked down to where everything fits in there all nicely. And that makes it super easy, in theory, to get those all square and level. I rechecked them again. I thought I had them done, but they were just off a tad. And that's when I decided to check this and realize that this is actually flared out. So what I think I'm gonna do is that's flat, and that's flat, and that's a stopper, and that's a stopper. And there's my angle. So hope for the best. I think I nailed it. What I did was I just clamped on, had this hanging off, clamped on the first one, a couple little tacks, measured this gap. This gap is basically what I determined here and here as just my consistent lines that I pretty much had no choice unless I just wanted to grind and grind and grind until that all went together, right? Because you can see at the bottom, it's tight. It's perfect down here. And then it just slowly comes out because these are flared. Why you would put a rounded edge and a flared thing here, like, I don't know who's designing this stuff, but I wouldn't design it that way. Well, this thing turned out, I'm pretty sure, perfect. So, and the welds turned out pretty darn good. Had a little, I don't know, spattle stuff there. Okay, here I am at the next stage of decision making and considerable welding, and that, or excuse me, measuring about 40,000 times, welding once. That's the plan. So I just kind of got it here, roughed in. Planes are flying, making all kinds of noise. And just trying to get an idea of how I am going to go about this whole thing. And there's a couple different ways I could do it. I could kind of grind down on this piece here because this piece sits higher than this piece. Right? So this and this is where the water tank sits, and then this is where the leaf springs sit, right? So now this is a tad higher. I have some chunks of basically, or what, plate now that I cut off this piece to get it in there. So the option is to either cut and grind this down to where it sits here and then just bumps up and goes there, or weld on tabs for this to go on. So this is I eyeballed it and then I started measuring. The measurement right here, perfect on both sides. The measurement right here is off by I think like an 1/8 or 1/16. So I'm just kind of blown away that I got it so close. I still have a lot more measuring and looking and double checking and triple checking and 1,000th time checking before I'm actually going to tack it. And then I'll check some more. All right, so this has been a process of moving things just a little bit at a time. First measurement, I got set to the square. Bam. Okay. Then I got another measurement I take from here to here. I got another measurement from here to here. And then I've got my, so I take my speed square, or I take my drywall square rather, and I put it here, and then I slide it down until it touches. And then I mark so that's 31 3/8. All right, so I've got my center marked on this here, and I push that up to get it marked center. And that pretty much just lines up right on center. Go away, plane, you're noisy. So my dilemma now is I cannot get that off those. I can't lift it up and get those out myself. And I pretty much decided to do it up like this instead of going down on the ground was because of the angle and the clamps, right? So if I would have put this down on the ground, I couldn't have grabbed the clamps. I mean, I could have put it on blocks, but by the time I got done taking it down, putting it on blocks, you know, I did this. So had such a beautiful day and got such awesome work done. This thing is, the only thing left I got with nuts and bolts is the torquing of those. Those didn't have torque settings, but those were kind of difficult, to be honest, to get those in. But I think I got them right, and I think they're difficult because they don't want them to come back off again. This is the most confusing. Like, what are these for here? I don't know what those are for. Those are to the axle. They don't spin, so I don't know. Okay, you see here how this part is going back. Here's the measurement here, 25 3/4 center to center on this. And then this is how it's supposed to look when it's all hooked up. Okay, so you can see 25 3/4, but my thing goes straight up and down. So I'm kind of confused as to that. And then, you know, I had this all centered and went by the measurements. And this, putting it up that high, rotated the axle. I don't know if the line's gonna pick up, but there's a line of center over there. And now the axle is actually forward of center. So I think this thing here was supposed to be way back over here to allow this to be more like right here, this part to here and this part over here, and then it would be more centered on the axle. So holy shit, man, I don't know what the hell this company, man. The biggest problem with this is that if the axle's forwards, that's potentially going to put more weight behind the axle, which is going to completely mess up everything. The axle is actually supposed to be centered on this frame so it can balance the water. I mean, yeah, this isn't good. All right, so you have to imagine how not happy I am right now with this whole situation. Like, I gotta cut this whole thing off right here and this whole thing off right here, and I'm waiting now for the company that I basically yelled at for being well, this is perfect. This measurements, all this is exactly what their website said. Exactly what their website said. But this little thing here is supposed to be trailing out like that. And this here is supposed to be more like here, right? And when that is the reality, then my axle will be closer to my center line, therefore being correct. Because right now, I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to have more weight behind my axle than in front of it, which is a key to disaster. But see, this trailer is kind of a tricky trailer, because you're talking about this small little area and about 2,700 pounds-ish. That's about 2,700 pounds full, okay? So balancing 2,700 pounds permanently to where this is just always balanced, regardless of how much water's in there, sloshing around or what, because the theory is to leave this full during the summer and to be able just to easily get it up onto a truck if there's a fire and have it already pre-filled with water, right? And all that really has to happen with this thing being perfectly balanced, right? And so following the directions, you see where it got. And I'm like, how would I have avoided that? And the process of, like, I would have basically had to put this one on. I'm going to have to do what I have to do now. Basically, I would have had to put this one on and bolt this all up and then move this one around until it was just everything was right, and then tack it on there and then weld it on there, right? When you don't have the correct measurements. But I didn't know I didn't have the correct measurements, so I just went ahead and put it together. I'm very salty, as the kids would say. It's just an absolutely viciously windy day. It woke me up. Okay, well, this side, I got that and that off. And this side, got that. Time to grind. All that's down to flat. Alright, well, that absolutely sucked. This was so much work, but man, the more I look at it, the more I'm worried that I'm gonna have to cut these off. I already think I have to, though, because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my marks, which I don't think they're gonna show up on camera. I got marks right here. That's the center, right over there, and I'm looking down this axle, and it's kind of lining up with the back side of the axle already. And see, the higher I go on this, the farther the axle moves forwards. Right now, as it sits, it's about somewhere 3/4 of an inch off of center. So the question is, do I cut that? Do I cut that? Do I get new ones, put new ones, redo it? Or is it actually going to be okay? Because when the weight starts to load down on this axle is going to actually rotate back a little bit. I don't know how much when those springs get loaded, but this is the dilemma. All right, here we are back. Turns out I got a freaking place in town that sells all this stuff. Like, I could have bought all this in town. I didn't even need to order it. They might have had to order an axle specific, but they got everything else. So I got these, and you see where we're at measurement wise there. So they say that's supposed to be 25 3/4. So yeah. Well, so I got it all. I haven't, like, I gotta measure and get like the exact measurement, and then I've got to get the placement and get the axle out of the way and all that, right? And then I need to weld those, right? Okay, the welder's in there, and that's about a foot of snow. And then The generator's back there, and again, is about a foot of snow. And no clear path wide enough to get the generator back here, over here. So, to continue on my project here, I have to scoop snow. I mean, like, the snow scooping has been ridiculous here over the last few days. Okay, so this has been the process of trying to figure things out. So I've been having my little square right there. I was just taking everything down, and I'm like, well, I better document this. So I've got a square there, and I'm lifting up and down and adjusting, and these are holding this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing what the difference is when it's lifted and all this, and that's how I came up to my measurement. So the first thing we're trying to avoid is this little thing going blink, right? So it's got to be far enough to stop the blink. And we also don't want it to be too high to push the axle forward. Okay, so that's the criteria that I'm working within. They've actually changed the measurements on the website, and the measurements they changed them to are wrong also. So I don't know what planet those guys are from, but it's not the planet with the accurate measurement. 3 5/8, I think, on that was the first measurement. They said it was 25 3/4. Now on the website it's 24 7/8, but I get 23 5/8. So that's where I think it's supposed to be. We're upright. It's alive. So torquing the U-bolts to specifications, I think I stripped them because, well, I guess the specifications are wrong. Great. I'm glad I bought a torque wrench. Well, here we are on another lovely day, and getting ready to do some cutting for some cutting and grinding. My little dowel there is gonna, for the chains, is gonna go up under here and actually be welded, but also a compression. So this comes to a V right here. So by putting a dowel in here, it's gonna go in there and it's gonna stop. I'm gonna weld it. And then if there's ever an incident, that dowel is pulling into the wedge. So it really can't go regardless. So I'm doing that. Doing big things. Got all my cuts. I think I got all my cuts. I'll probably need to cut something else at some point. At this point, I'm kind of almost gambling these will be strong enough. Once the little back plate is welded in there and the ends are supported with those might just be good enough to stand on without doing any kind of frame above it. Perfect. Less work for me. I love it. It's about 15 or something, 19 degrees. I was out here this morning getting all set up before when it was even colder and darker. But I got everything set up and lined up, clamped up. All I'm ready to do now is let the generator warm up and start welding. All right, super happy with the way the chains turned out. And this didn't turn out bad, but I made the mistake of trusting a clamp and forgetting to tack both ends at once. So this top one started to expand on me a little bit and got out like a ½ inch, which, you know, doesn't matter at all because they're on the different, I'm like custom mounting them, so it's not a big deal. I've got all my steps on there. Steps, I call them steps. That's how I'm holding the fenders on. Got my little tabs on there. Well, I was working this morning, so you can talk all the trash you want about my welding skills. I'm self-taught. And sometimes when I'm welding this sheet metal, things just get out of control. But, you know, that's how you fix it. So just move on with life. These are so strong I can stand on them just with this level of connection. So they're welded here, 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 and then all the way down the back. So that's what I'm working on now. I just got done with lunch. It's another lovely day. Lots of snow, a little bit of sun. All right. It is, this phase is done. I have the welding, everything's on there. It's all good. I had problems here and almost exactly on the same side over there, where I blew through the sheet metal and then had to chase it and then had to grind it, and that's so much fun. But I mean, it's not pretty. You can make fun of me on my welds all you want, but it's strong. I would like do a whole stand on it thing, but I'm not going to do that till I'm connected to something, because playing around out here, all the way out here in the middle of freaking nowhere, jumping around on shit, falling down, breaking shit, no, not gonna happen. Just to show my YouTube video. Well, so it's kind of a fail. It might not be a total fail, but it's a fail as far as it being the way I wanted it to be. All right, so here's what's going on. I towed it yesterday and it towed perfectly. Then when I took it to the place to fill up the water, it got to about here when I noticed the weight had come up off the hitch. So the hitch I'm using and the truck I'm using, this is technically built for that truck, the little truck. Okay, so when you look at this situation here, is when the trailer tips, the center of gravity changes. Okay, so if the trailer is too far back that way from the hitch being up, the center of gravity just changes a little bit. So I do have another hitch when I'm ready to get water again, is the only time I can test it. Okay, so I can't really test it until then, but a lower hitch is going to change things. And then this pump right here is going to go right here. So with the weight that is going to go here for the pump and the mechanism to hold it all and encase it, you know, that whole mechanism, I am pretty sure, I mean, I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the weight difference that I need, so I don't actually have to cut this apart and move it literally a ½ inch. So instead of from the axle to this forward, the way I measured it was 13 inches. So I measured it to the center to there, but because the angle is different, it's like a ½ inch off. So it's a ½ inch further forwards than it needed to be. Okay, that ½ inch though is subjective, because if the tank was filled like this, it would stay like that. So there's a point where it gets to, which on that hitch was about here. Now it towed just fine. There was no fishtailing. Everything was fine, but what it didn't tow in the snow, it was a nightmare. Having that much weight not on your bumper, because it's perfectly balanced in the snow, isn't what you want. And that's why this thing has a nut that just comes off, because in the winter in the snow, this thing goes in the back of the truck. That's just the best way to do it, to keep the truck in, you know, I mean, it was no fun towing this up the road in the snow. Like the truck, I need new tires, so that's part of it. But yeah, it wasn't fun. So this is the end of this video as the wind picks up. And in the next video, we're gonna pick up with the frame that goes there, the pump that goes there, maybe not the pump right away. I might not buy the pump until like spring. And wiring. Then I'm gonna wire it. So, and I got a pretty cool idea about where I'm gonna put the trailer lights, except my cool idea is weight. So just a little bit of weight. I'm not sure if it's gonna be too much. Basically just some angle iron standoff to bring my lights up here, just to get them out of the way of anything, breaking them in theory. Like, subscribe for part 2. Have a great day. Peace.